Hey guys, welcome to a very ambitious July TBR. Alright, before we jump into the TBR, I actually have a word from sponsor Lexi. So sponsor Lexi, take it away. Hi guys, sponsor Lexi here to talk to you guys today about Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a jewelry company that I've worked with on my channel before. They make lovely jewelry and it is all 100% carbon neutral. They use ethically sourced materials and recycled materials, and they make products with the environment in mind, which is always a really good thing when you're looking for jewelry. They are currently running their 20% off summer sale, so site-wide all their jewelry is 20% off. There are so many amazing things to find. I got a lot of necklaces this time around. I like kind of like simple pieces, but they have some really fun stuff right now, including some jewelry with little martini glasses, a cute little like pizza necklace. I think there's a lipstick one as well. They have just such cute jewelry and like I think there's something there for everyone. So I absolutely love the necklaces that I got this time around. This one has two chains, or two strands that is. It's called Willow, and it's just this beautiful gold necklace. It is simple, but I like the stacked necklace look, but I'm also very lazy, so this is a good compromise for that. I also got this beautiful necklace with these little black gemstone pieces called Addie, which I love because one of my favorite books is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I thought about that when I saw this necklace, and I just thought it was so cute and simple, and it would go with a ton of my stuff. And finally, I also got this necklace called Demi, and it's this really delicate kind of shorter chain with these tiny little pearls. Again, so cute. I think this will look really cute with some tank tops and stuff in the summer, and it's just so delicate and dainty, and I love it so much. And while I got a bunch of necklaces, they also carry rings and earrings, and they're even doing like anklets and stuff now, which I didn't realize were coming back, but they are, so that's fun, and that's probably a cute little like flirty piece for summer as well. So feel free to click the link down in my bio to visit their website to view their 20% off sale. They also give me a 10% off coupon code that you can use whenever they're not running a sale, and that's Lexi's Library 10. So whenever you're checking out, please feel free to use that coupon code. Again, it's good all year when they're not running other sales. I'm just so excited to be working with Ana Luisa again. I really love their product, and I think they're a really super cool company. Thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring today's video. Thanks, sponsor Lexi. Now into the TBR. So first we're gonna start with some books that I'm like highly prioritizing this month. Definitely gonna get to these. And then I have a large stack of library books. I got a library card last month and I was really excited about it. Perhaps a little too excited. And I requested a ton of books and they all came in a lot faster than I expected them to. Obviously, I'm excited to get to all of these, and I'm going to do my best to read as many as I can this month, but I don't think it's necessarily realistic of me to try to attempt all of these. If you have any opinions about what I should try to prioritize this month, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. So starting off with a book that I'm actually currently in the process of reading and was actually on my June TBR, we have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is part of my Goodreads Want to Read backlist project. This one has been sitting on my Want to Read list for so long. I think actually before I even read Mexican Gothic, I wanted to read this book and I just hadn't gotten around to it yet, which is crazy because everything about this book is something that I love. We have kind of like a Cinderella set up with a young woman named, I keep wanting to say Calliope. It's not Calliope, it's Cassiopeia. She lives with relatives, but they treat her like crap. She has to do a lot of chores around the house. They take her for granted. And one day she is sort of forbidden from going on this trip with her family. And so she's home by herself and she opens this wooden trunk that is in her grandfather's room. A Mayan god of death basically pops out and she has to help him and go on this adventure with him so he can reclaim his throne in Jobaba. I'm really enjoying this book so far. I'm just under 100 pages into it, and as always, Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing is beautiful and it's very fast paced. Like, I'm liking the adventure story. I like the dynamic between, the girl who just wants an adventure and this hundreds of years old thousands of years old god. And it takes place in the 1920s too, which is really interesting. I feel like you don't get a lot of historical fiction that takes place in the 1920s, like in Mexico in particular. So I'm really digging this and I can't wait to finish it. Next up, we have volume 2 of Spy Family. This has been a very much hyped manga series. I've heard so much about it in the last few months. I've recently gotten back into manga and I basically needed to pick this up. I read the first volume last month and it was delightful, totally lived up to the hype, and I'm really excited to read more. Books A Million was doing a buy 2 get 1 free deal on manga this weekend, so I picked up volumes 2, 3, and 4. Ideally, I'd like to get to them all, but I'm not gonna force it if I'm not feeling it. Manga and graphic novels are very much like a mood thing for me, but I am really eager to get to this installation. This has actually my favorite character so far on it as well. Her name's Anya, and she was an orphan who got adopted. Actually, back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. The premise of Spy Family, we have this spy named Twilight, or that's his code name at least, and his latest assignment involves getting close to the leader of sort of their rival country. This man's son attends a private school, and he basically Twilight, that is, has to put together a family and get his kid into this school so he can get close to his target. So he adopts Anya, who he does not know is a telepath, and she immediately knows that he is a spy because of this, but she plays it cool because she doesn't want Twilight to get rid of her, and she just thinks it's really cool that he's a spy. Eventually, he decides he needs a wife figure as well, and he runs into this woman, and she is an assassin. Twilight doesn't know that she's an assassin. She doesn't know that Twilight is a spy. Anya knows both of their backstories because, again, she's telepathic, and it's so funny. And Anya's really precious, so I'm really, again, enjoying this series so far, and I can't wait to get into the next couple of volumes. Next up, we have a new release that I was really excited about, and that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I believe this is her first romance, adult romance book. I previously read Among the Beasts and Briars by her, and that was a standalone YA fantasy that I really enjoyed. So I'm curious to see what her adult romance reads like. This has to do with a woman, I think she works in a funeral home? Maybe not. Oh, JK, she's a ghostwriter. Why did I think she works in a funeral home? Okay, her father dies, and in the funeral home, she runs into her editor, who is really handsome, but really harsh, and he's dead now, and I think it's a romance between her and this ghost. I don't know, it just sounds really quirky and silly, and also sad a little bit. So I'm very curious to get into this. Again, this is, I believe, her first romance book. So I'm excited. There's a new adaptation of Persuasion coming out, I believe, on Netflix this month. So I gotta read the original before I can watch the movie so I can properly critique the movie, obviously. The trailer just came out like a week or two ago, and it's gotten some people pretty riled up. So I want to be in the know. I haven't read this one, but it's definitely really short. I think this was the last book she published or Jane Austen published before she passed away. That might be wrong, but I think it is. And I've heard it feels like that, like her writing matured between this and some of her earlier books. I'm really eager to see what all the hype is about. I've heard this is very angsty, and I love a good angsty romance, so I can't wait to get into this. I believe this follows a young woman named Anne, and when she was a younger woman, she was in love with this man, but then she was eventually persuaded to break things off with him, and I think he joins the army. And then several years pass, and he comes back into her life, and she's never really gotten over him, and she's realized that it was a mistake to break things off with him. And I believe this is the story of them reconnecting. So really eager to get into this one. Again, it's quite short. Maybe Stephanie will want to read it with me. That'd be cool. Stephanie, wink, wink. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. So those were my highest priority reads for this month. Now we're going to get into the library borrows. Me getting a library card was to help curb some of my impulse book buying, and I think it's helped. I've definitely bought less in this last month than I think I would have otherwise. But this stack of books is stuff that I am really excited about. And if I do end up loving these, I would love to add them to my collection at some point, but this way I'm not like rushing and buying things full price. You know, maybe I can wait and find a good deal on some of these, but still have had read them. So first up, we actually have a novella, and that is Spear by Nicola Griffith, who wrote Hild, which I know was really big quite some time ago. This is like a feminist retelling of some King Arthur mythology. I'm not exactly sure what the main character's sort of place in the plot is, but I've heard it's sapphic. So I've just heard really good things about this novella, and I love a good novella. Some of them do get quite pricey, especially for the length of them though, so I'm trying to buy those a lot less unless I know I'm gonna love them, like the Wayward Children series. And I've never read anything by this author before, so while I'm curious to see what this book is about, I just thought it would be a good library choice, and yeah. And I think it'll be a quick read. I feel like I'll be able to get to this in July. Like, of any of these, this one will definitely be read. Then we have Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. This is a new YA fantasy release. I think it's a series, not a standalone. And the tag says, 2 princesses, 1 throne. What could go wrong? These girls are twins, obviously, but they were separated at birth, and one is raised as the princess, and one is raised to basically, like, kidnap the princess later on. And they switch places, I think. So I think that sounds like a really fun setup. You know, it's nothing new, but I'm curious to see what these authors do with that sort of familiar story. I've heard this is really funny, and I've heard it's action-packed, and I've heard there's a couple good romances in this, so I'm excited to get to it. I'm a little sad I missed out on the Waterstones sprayed edges editions. I think they were just paperbacks though, so that's kind of why I held off on them, but like there were 2 variations of the sprayed edges, and like one was sort of mimicking one twin's personality and one was the other twin's sort of aesthetic. I thought that was really cool, so sad I missed out on that, but hopefully this is a fun read. And whereas YA, I expect this to be pretty fast as well, even though it's quite long. Actually, this is page thickness is so deceptive. This is less than 500 pages, and I'm like, wow, this is such a chonker. It's not that bad, so this should be a fast read. Then we have another new release that's gotten a lot of hype lately, and that is Kaikeyi. This is a retelling of an Indian epic in which this character Kaikeyi is sort of a villain figure, but this is a retelling, so it's kind of like the Circe treatment, but for Indian mythology, which I think is really interesting. And I've heard really good things about this as well. This, I believe, is a standalone, and I think it's a debut, actually, too. So I think that'll be really cool. And I love a good, like, sympathetic villain story. And I'm curious to see what her story is, because I'm not quite as familiar, obviously, with, like, Indian mythology as I am sort of Greek and Roman mythology. And I think this is a really cool idea, so can't wait to get into this one. This next book, I think, came out 2020, maybe 2021. It's been on my radar for a while. Okay, 2021. And it's called Meet Me in Another Life by Katrina Sylvie. And I was just talking to Stephanie about this. I have like a soft spot for stories that follow 2 people through like multiple lifetimes and like how their love transcends a single lifetime. I don't know if this is necessarily like a romantic love or just like this really strong connection between 2 people, but like their lives continue to cross paths like again and again and again through time. And again, it's nothing totally new, but it's a story that like I really find myself drawn to a lot. Part of the description describes this as, or describes the characters as like satellites trapped in orbit around each other. They are destined to meet again and again. As a teacher and a gifted student, a caretaker and a dying patient, a cynic and a believer. In numerous lives, they become friends, colleagues, lovers, and enemies. So I'm not quite sure like how all these lives connect or if they sort of inherently know one another, but I love that kind of story, and I think this will be a really fascinating read. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but I feel like, again, this has been on my radar since it came out, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet, so I can't wait. This next book has also been on my radar for a while. It came out in 2020, and it was really popular when it did, and this author has another book coming out this year that, like, I think sounds amazing, and I want to read this book before I read her new one, and that is Alexis Henderson's A Year of the Witching. This gives me kind of like The Witch vibes, like the movie from A24. And this is described as a young woman living in a rigid, puritanical society discovers dark powers within herself in this stunning feminist fantasy debut. So again, witch vibes from like the A24 movie. I also believe our main character is mixed race in this very like puritanical setting. So that's like another layer of tension for sure. And I just think it sounds really cool and creepy, and it's summertime, but you know what? I can read a creepy book whenever I want. So very excited to get to this one, and if I love it, I'll probably buy it, because again, it's been on my radar for a really long time, and I'm quite excited for her new release. I think it's called House of Hunger, and I think it has to do with vampires. So she's got like a theme, and I am on board for that. So I can't wait. Another sort of backlist hyped book is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I know literally nothing about this other than that it is a sapphic fantasy, and it was part of like the sapphic fantasy trifecta of 2021 last year on TikTok. I think it was like this, The Unbroken. Was it Priory of the Orange Tree that was the third one? I don't remember. It'll come to me after I finish recording and I'll feel like a fool, but oh well. So the description says, a ruthless princess seeking to steal a throne, a powerful priestess seeking to save her family. Together they will set an empire ablaze. And I'm in. That sounds interesting. The sequel for this also comes out this year. I think it's called The Oleander Sword. The cover for that is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. So I'm very excited to get to this one. I don't know if it's a trilogy or a duology. We shall see. But I've heard really good things about this. I also did not know it came in hardcover, like outside of the Illumicrate edition. I've only seen this in paperback, so I don't know where my library got this edition, but I'm jealous. And also, again, gotta remind myself not to buy every single book that I want immediately. Next up, we have a brand new release that, again, kind of like has received a lot of hype, and I feel like I heard about it a while ago, but I didn't put much thought into it. And then like right before it came out, I feel like everyone started talking about it. I was like, okay, well now I gotta see what the big deal is. And that is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. This cover really does it for me, and it's funny, like I get really strong Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell vibes, like the bird on the cover even, and like the all black. Tell me that this isn't like giving off the same exact vibe. All I know is that this is like dark academia, I think, and we have a couple different settings. We go to Victorian London and Tokyo and also Edinburgh. We travel around a lot. And I think I've just seen this described as sort of like a Victorian X-Men. Like there's kids with some special powers. One of them can heal themselves. One of them shines with a strange bluish light and can melt or mend flesh. And a jaded female detective is recruited to escort them to safety, and they begin a journey into the nature of difference and belonging and the shadowy edges of the monstrous. I have no idea. I've just heard this is really good. There's a lot of hype surrounding it at the moment. This is a chonker. It's, I think, broaching 650 pages. Oh, it's more than that. Okay. 658. So this is one of the ones that I'm like, I am not sure if I'll actually get to this month. Would love it if I did, obviously, but we'll see. I am excited to read it, but I don't know if it's necessarily feasible at the moment. And then my last library book that I currently have checked out is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is an oldie but a goodie. I love this cover. I will never forgive them for changing covers basically every time they came out with a new book in this series. But yeah, this is, I think it takes place in the 1920s in New York City, and it's like a serial killer that is a demon, and this group of teenagers is trying to figure out who the heck this guy is, and I don't know, that's all I know. I've heard excellent things about this book in particular. I know this series kind of ended on a bad note for a lot of people, but I am really curious to see what the hype is about. I want to be in the know, and this felt like a good library pick. And then last up for my ridiculous TBR is The Book of Gothel by Mary McMine. I think this is a debut. And it's a reimagining of the story of Rapunzel, presenting the witch's perspective in this tale of motherhood, magic, and the stories we pass down to our children. So again, a sympathetic, I think, villain origin story. I love the movie Tangled. I don't have a lot of attachment to the Rapunzel myth beyond that movie, so I'm curious to see. I don't know a lot about like the original fairy tale. So I think this will be an interesting way to learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, beyond it being like a Mother Gothel origin story, I don't know a lot about this. But I requested an ARC. The cover is really pretty. And it comes out at the end of the month, I think. July 26th. So I would like to read the ARC and get a review up before then so I can stay on top of my NetGalley requests. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting read. I'm excited. And that wraps up my July TBR. It's ridiculous. Again, if there's any of the library books that you think I should definitely focus on this month, please let me know. I kind of have like a loose reading order in my head, sort of dependent on the return dates. I will be able to request to renew some of these books. I think only a couple of them currently have holds on them, so no pressure. At least I'm trying to tell myself that, but we shall see. Either way, I think this is going to be a great reading month. I'm really excited for all of these. There's a lot of fantasy picks because you know me, I love fantasy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like my socials down in the description box below. Leave a comment if you feel obliged, and like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, have a lovely day. Bye. And thank you again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Again, please feel free to click the link down in my bio to view their 20% off summer sale, or whenever their sale's not going. Perhaps you're watching this video from the future and there's not a current sale. You can use my coupon code Lexie'sLibrary10 down below as well.